I'm Chris, you're watching FRAG-MENTAL. Artistic perfumery doesn't get compliments, right? Wrong. This one does. In this video, I'm talking about the latest release from Imaginary Authors. It's called Telegramma. If you don't know, Imaginary Authors are an artistic indie perfume house based in the United States, and the concept behind their brand is all their fragrances are inspired by imaginary novels. So obviously, these novels don't exist, but the story is told in fragrance terms throughout each of the fragrances in their collection. I have their short story collection. I bought that a couple of years ago, did a video. If you haven't seen that and you're interested in hearing a little bit about all the fragrances that they had in the collection at that time, there's been a few additions since I did that video, but you can check out the video up there if you'd like to see that one from a couple of years ago. One of the things I love most about this brand is the design, is the aesthetics. There's something about these bottles that is simple yet so collectible. I think it's the fact that they're all designed to look like books on a shelf, so when you have a few of them on your shelf, they do look fantastic lined up together. So I own Cape Heartache, Memoirs of a Trespasser. These are amazing. What do I think of Telegramma? Let's get into it. The story that Telegramma is inspired by is based on two people who were in love and grew apart and didn't see each other for a very long time, and then one day they bump into each other again on an airline. And I assume that this romantic story is set somewhere in the 50s or 60s, judging by the label, which is made to look like an old airline ticket. The design of this label is absolutely gorgeous. I fell in love with it before I even smelled the fragrance. Possibly the best designed label of all the Imaginary Authors collection, and they have some great ones. So let's take a closer look at the bottle and the notes. The notes are talc, lavender absolute, black pepper, teak, amyris, vanilla powder, and fresh linens. I've always loved the presentation of Imaginary Authors. The bottles come in these boxes made to look like a book, and each one has its own bookmark in here as well. So gives you the fragrance notes and a little bit of the story of the fragrance itself, the imaginary novel that it's inspired by. And as you open up the box, you've got the fragrance just sitting nicely in there. And then now you always get, the sample used to be hidden in the box, but now it's very visibly presented here in the front, so you get the chance to sample something else from the line. I ordered this from the Imaginary Authors website a few weeks ago, and I was tempted to make a video straight away, do a first impressions, but I'm really glad that I didn't, because at first I didn't quite get this fragrance. I was a little bit confused as to what it was going for, particularly with the opening. Imaginary Authors had said that this was inspired by vintage style fougere. So in the opening I was expecting something greener, more aromatic and fougere-like, but it really isn't that. What they've done is somehow put a gourmand twist on the lavender. So it's like a spiced lavender, and there's some caramel there as well, almost like a salted caramel. So whilst you can tell the lavender is there, it's not the very floral, aromatic, quite sharp lavender that you might expect from a lot of aromatic fougères. It's sweeter. But what I will say is the opening of this is very unique. It's unlike anything I've smelled before. And what I had to do was dispel my preconceptions, because I'll be honest, it was a little bit of a barrier for me into this fragrance. I couldn't get past the fact that the opening was not what I expected. But the more I started to wear this, the more I started to explore it, I started to get it. Started to get what it was and what it was going for, and I'm now finding this extremely pleasing to wear. So it opens with this quite pronounced, sweet, spiced, creamy lavender accord. And then after about half an hour, it transitions into the next chapter, which is the woody core of this fragrance. So even though it is quite woody, I would say it's also sweetened and softened a little bit by the sweetness in here, probably from the vanilla. And the woodiness is balsamic. And whenever there's a balsamic type accord in a fragrance, it always makes me think of antique furniture. I would describe this as assertive but laid back. It seems to have a confidence in its own composition. It never demands attention, it just seems to naturally draw attention to itself without ever being too loud or shouty. After about 2 to 3 hours, it starts to settle into the dry down, and for me, I got a sweet, creamy, almost cotton candy type of scent. So the sharpness of the spices and the woods have settled and it becomes very smooth, very easygoing. The dry down to me seems to be in line with this current trend in perfumery to have this kind of creamy, woody, cotton candy type accord. It's not the same as Baccarat Rouge 540, but kind of in the ballpark of that fragrance. I don't think you would smell them both together and think, oh, they smell the same, but kind of doing a similar thing, having a similar effect.
Join the Scent Geeks every Monday as we podcast about all things fragrance. You'll find us anywhere you can usually find a podcast. Links are in the description below this video. See you there, geeks.
So what we also have in here is this fresh linens accord. This is the imaginary note of this fragrance. All the fragrances have some kind of imaginary note. And you get this kind of clean breeziness about the fragrance at the same time as having this creamy sweetness. And whenever a fragrance has that feel to it, this airiness, it's usually due to aldehydes. I don't know if there are aldehydes in this or not. There isn't anything listed, but whatever it is, it just has that lovely kind of clean, breezy effect. If you like your fragrances to develop rather than being too linear, this one definitely tells a story. Narratively, it unfolds in 3 chapters: the opening, the mid, the dry down, but I would say that the transition between these 3 parts of the fragrance's development is always smooth and never jarring. After spending a decent amount of time with this one, I'm finding it an absolute delight. When I first sprayed this one on in the house, I was walking around the house and my wife commented and said that she liked whatever it was I was wearing. Often, she doesn't comment. She's used to smelling all sorts of fragrances emanating off me, and she won't often comment unless I ask her for her opinion. But on the occasion of wearing this, I didn't ask her anything. She just said, I like what you're wearing, and that means she likes it. So I know that's only one person's opinion, but I thought it was useful to mention it in the video. Also got another compliment off this. I was at work and a colleague followed my sillage trail and he said, I really like what you're wearing, what is it? And then I have to go into explaining what the brand is, that they're based in the States, and it often gets quite complicated when they can't just go down to the local Debenhams and buy a fragrance. But I explained to him what it was, and he said that it reminded him of like a caramel, like a kind of toffee type of smell. And I think he's absolutely right. You do get that toffee, kind of salted caramel, sweet vibe going on with this one. So the compliments actually surprised me a little bit, because that was in the stage where I was kind of trying to work out this fragrance and what it was doing. So I just totally wasn't expecting anyone around me to comment and say that they liked it. And I think obviously things are always going to be different in the air as well than when you're smelling them up close on your skin. You know, fragrance does have to breathe sometimes. So it seems to be a bit of a crowd pleaser. In terms of when to wear this, you know, it's pretty versatile because it's got those aromatic fougere-like qualities. It's not only just a cold weather fragrance. I think because of the sweet density of the vanilla in here, it would work really well in fall and winter, but I would also have no problem wearing this in summer and spring. In terms of occasions as well, it's versatile. You could wear this as a day scent, as a work scent, as a date night scent. It's one of those fragrances that just works in all sorts of different situations. Performance is pretty good. So overall, I got around 8 hours, although it probably lasted a little bit longer that as a close skin scent. But the projection for me was around 2 to 3 hours, a little bit more if you get it on your clothes. And then it kind of stayed dried down on my skin for around 8 hours, but I was still getting nice wafts throughout the life of that for those 8 hours. If you're thinking of sampling this or buying this one, then I'll leave some links to the places you can purchase it from. You can buy it from Imaginary Authors' website. It's based in the United States, so if you're in the States, that's probably your best bet. I did purchase it from them, and I got hit with a customs charge shipping into the UK. So just be wary of that if you are ordering from their US website. What you can do now is it's now in stock in Bloom Perfumery. So Bloom is a perfume shop based in Covent Garden in London. So if you're near London, then go in there, smell the whole Imaginary Authors line, and you can smell this one. You can also purchase samples from them. So you can order it from Bloom on their website, or you can go into the store and it will cost you £90. You're going to pay some shipping on that if you order it off the website. If you order it from Imaginary Authors, they are charging $95 for this fragrance. I'm not sure what they do in terms of shipping. You'll have to look into that on the website, but links to both those places will be in the description. Just to sum up, I really enjoyed this. Josh Meyer, the brand owner of Imaginary Authors, loves the artistic side of fragrance composition, but it always seems to be very wearable. So they're lovely artistic fragrances that are very easy to wear. I find that pretty much for the whole line. City on Fire may be a little intense for some people, so that's why it would be good to sample that, maybe get it in the short story collection sample set. But it is very artistic. It's a gourmand twist on an aromatic fougere, which for me is unique to what I have in my collection. So I'm very glad to have this one and really looking forward to wearing it a lot more. So those are my thoughts on the new one from Imaginary Authors, Telegramma. Have you tried this one yet? I would love to hear your thoughts, with it being quite a unique take on a fougere. What did you think when you first sprayed it? Did you get it? Did it take you a little bit of time, or was it an instant love? Whatever your thoughts on this one, I would love to hear from you, so please leave some comments down below. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, keep tuning into FM and keep smelling good.